Om Namah Shivaya. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So I think that we're done with the first verse. We reviewed an interpretation, a very interesting interpretation, a good interpretation of papa, of sins, wrong actions. Wrong actions, result of that. So we reviewed that. So there we thought that not knowing the self from the standpoint of the Shastra is considered to be the greatest sin. And you are hurting yourself, you're not hurting anybody else. And usually when you when you do a wrong action, you hurt someone else. You also hurt yourself, of course, in the process. So this is what remember I've lost my train of thought when I was talking to this lady. And so this is the essence of that point that I was responding to her, that Swami Akhandananda is pointing out that the way to correct one's wrong actions is to understand how it hurts you. See, that's the basis of our wrong actions. We think that our actions can hurt somebody else. But in fact, the seed of that action is born in you first. It cannot sprout because you are the doer of the action. So the sprouting comes from you, not from somebody else, right? So in that sense, the seed of that sprout first has to arise in your own mind, and so this is a poisonous seed. And that poisonous seed eventually hurts yourself first and then the other person. So the lack of forgiveness, what one has to understand is really hurting me. And once that becomes more evident, then the first step is to arrest that sin before it becomes fully hurtful to someone. Like, for example, even in the case of anger, as we were discussing Swami Viditatmananda's. So the seed of the anger is still there. So this is interesting. In the case of the situation about this guy who was saying that I think I have overcome anger, and Swamiji sort of egging him on, needling him, saying, no, the seeds are still there, and finally he couldn't tolerate any longer and said, Swamiji, I'm telling you, I never get angry. Why don't you listen to me? So the seed is there. The reason for saying that is that unless you have Atma Vidya, the seed of sin will always be there. This is the point. This is the point. And we can keep the seed from fructifying as much as we can, and we do. This is the difference between people who are following dharma versus people who are adharmic. That in a dharmic person you do sinful action like lying and cheating and denying and so on and so forth easily. Whereas in a dharmic person, you keep it under check. You may have a tendency to cheat. Every time you have to file your tax return, you'll say, well, maybe I should take that deduction. The government will never know this, So there is a tendency. And then you should say, and the dharmic person understands that there is a karma phala. Always, you may be able to cheat the US government, but Bhagavan is sitting there. He is his accountant, Chandragupta, never makes a mistake. He never makes a mistake. He makes a mistake. This guy cheated. So something will come back to you. So the seed of sin will never disappear from your mind, no matter how much you control it. But in the case of Atma Vidya, what is considered in our Shastra is that a very important life is given to you. Because to become a human being must have required a number of very beautiful karmas to get this kind of body, and more important than that, to get this kind of a mind. Because the human being is the only one who can achieve moksha. It's the only one that can have a desire for God. Animals cannot have a desire for God. They cannot have a desire for moksha. A dog may be a very beautiful thing. We all admire it. We talk about it. What a lovely, what a loyal thing. Can't do much. And imagine what it takes for our karma phala to fructify, that we have this beautiful body and a beautiful mind that can inquire and can aspire for great things. And in this lifetime, if we do not allow our gift of this body and mind to achieve freedom, is a great sin. This is what the Shastra says. You are hurting yourself. You will not be hurting anybody else. You are hurting yourself. And the karma phala of not understanding the self, not understanding the Ishvara in yourself, is very damaging. Because you have to go through the very painful process all over again. And this is really fascinating how, if you really look at the landscape of our lives, how the landscape is. One is born, and for the first 25 years, something like that, between 22, 23, 25, you are just busy with just learning to cope with the life, with basically understanding simple languages, simple science, simple arts, getting married, having children, all of that, okay? And then once the grihastha ashrama starts, then the rajas in you gets fully evolved and you start making money. and it starts to give you some comfort, and you want to make more money, and it gives you some more comfort, so you feel this is what it is. And when it comes to spirituality, that can wait. And at best what it is it's one of many things that I do. One of many things I do. Swami Dayanandaji gave this wonderful, beautiful example. He says one time, there was a person here somewhere in the East Coast, in the New Jersey area, very early on when Swamiji came, because Pami and I became a great student of his, and we started arranging talks for him in the Bay Area, and he would come and stay with us. So we were fully devoted to him. Okay? And when he would come, our life just got turned upside down. You cannot imagine how busy it is. People coming in, taking care of Swamiji, taking him to talks. This happened many, many times over the years. But similar to that, there was a guy here. I don't know his name. Swamiji never mentioned that to me. But he says that this fellow said, Swamiji, you are the best thing that I've ever heard. Oh my God, you must come and give talks in my area, and please stay with me. So Swamiji said, oh, I found a new student, that's good, wonderful. Okay, he says, okay, he start making next year when I come, maybe in the month of July we can come. So he says, okay, Swamiji, that's wonderful. Swamiji is very happy we found a new person to create a new. So he comes in. This is very interesting. This is a real story. So Swamiji comes in, and the first talk starts. And so just before that, they had dinner at their home before the talks. So this guy who's the host, this is the person who invited Swamiji, says, Swamiji, I forgot to tell you, I am not going to be there for the first talk. Swamiji said, you are not going to? Who's going to introduce me? Oh, he says, I have a very good friend who is a very good speaker, and he will introduce you. But so Swamiji said, what are you doing? He said, Swamiji, I had this, business meeting for a long time, and I had to do this. Swamiji said, it's okay, fine. Second talk, Swamiji, I could not come to today's talk, but I'm arranging it for others. It's. Swamiji says, this is very interesting. What happens is that in your grihastha ashrama, you want to do a number of things, making money, standing for office. And one of them is, I have this sadhu who speaks some very interesting things, and I want to spread that word in my community. So this is also an egotistical thing. It has nothing to do with your own, I want to listen to you, whether you give talks to anybody else or not. That's a different thing altogether. But this is a desire to spread the word and be very confident, I did it. Life passes like this. Swami Akhandananda gives this example. Swami Akhandananda has, in his life, has spent so much time talking to the outside people, to non-students, and it's fascinating to get his journey of his life. And typically he will say, there is a very similar to this story with Swami Dayananda, very similar to that some sage meaning, so generally he would talks to people who are desirous of some kind of a spiritual introduction, but they're very busy with their lives. And so they invite Swamiji and so on. So Swamiji says, okay, now what should you study next? He says, Swamiji, but not right now. Because I have a very successful business and I have to pay attention to that. Don't you agree? What can Swami say? No, I don't agree. He say, yeah, keep doing it. Day never comes. And if it comes, it gets to be too late. So all the point is that in our life, if you really look at the opportunity to, and this takes time, because we have such a strong idea about our life that if somebody comes in and talks about the self and I am so on and so forth, it looks kind of like vague things and so on. Maybe I will look into it but I've got a lot of other things to do. This can be done. The whole life passes and you lose the opportunity. And who knows, the karmas that make you into a human being have already been exhausted. And there are other karmas that may make you into a dog. It's very possible. And they are waiting, chomping to become evident. You may lose the next 3 or 4 lives and once you are a dog or a tiger, you kill other things, then you get even worse. Anyway, who knows? And if the opportunity is there, please take it. And then if it is not there, it is considered to be one of the greatest sins that one performs. But to understand that as a sin itself is a very major thing. I don't look upon it as a sin. The only thing we can say is that you don't know it, you don't do it knowingly. You didn't know about it. I would say this: if a person is introduced to it and understands the potential of it, not to follow it is the greatest sin. And I must congratulate myself that the day I heard Swami Chinmayanandaji, my whole life changed. And then, so strong was my desire. So at least I didn't completely waste my life. I wasted some of it. So anyway, this is the discussion about the sin that Swami Viditatmananda also has talked about. I don't know, what I'm doing is, I hope this is okay with you, because I'm not just taking individual verses and going through every word and so on. I'm just giving you some personal experience about my ideas and so on. And the book is there, you can always go back, but I will make sure that I touch on the major points. It's not as though we won't do that. So that's how it's coming out. Okay, now let's go to the second verse, which is on page 58. Tasmai sa hovacha pitamahascha shraddha bhakti dhyana yogat avehi. To him the grandsire said, may you know through shraddha, trust in the teaching, bhakti, commitment, and dhyana, meditation. So here, what is given in, very nicely done by Swamiji. He explained this so well. On page 59, you will see that there are 2 kinds of sadhanas. So the question is, now the student has approached the teacher, a person who has qualified himself to become a teacher, to a student, and says, sir, what do I need to do? I've heard that Atma Vidya releases me from all samsara, and I understand you are, I know that you are capable of giving me that knowledge, and I want that knowledge. What do I need to do? So he replies to him, Tasmai saho vacha pitamahascha shraddha bhakti dhyana yogat avehi. So here a brief description of the sadhanas is given, and as Swami Viditatmananda has pointed out on page 59, that the sadhanas can be classified into 2 categories. One is externally oriented sadhana and one is internally oriented sadhana. One is called Bahiranga sadhana and Antaranga sadhana. The Bahiranga sadhana is karma yoga, primarily. Okay? As the answer to somebody's that Swamiji also had given, very beautiful answer, that the karma yoga consists of, because you are engaged in the life, you have a family, you've got expectations, you have children, and you're not a sannyasi. So the Bhagavad Gita is a beautiful text for those people. It is not a text for sannyasis. It is meant for householders, because you have to be act out in the world. You cannot just leave it. And at the same time, how do you convert the outside work into something which is useful to you also? To others, of course, but also to yourself. And the way to do that is karma yoga. So karma yoga means conducting your work not for karma phala, but antakarana shuddhi. And what that means is that, and so this is interesting, that the grihastha ashrama, you see there are the 4 ashramas you know about, right? So the first ashrama, so roughly speaking, it is divided into 4 25-year segments. You can change it depending upon the era and health and so on and so forth, but 4 segments. So the first segment is as a vidyarthi. You are just learning. It's all about learning. Yeah, I remember Swami Dayanandji. He was, this is very early on when I saw him, and he was also new to the US. He had never been here before, and he was also learning things. And I remember this so well. There was a person who asked him, and he was telling him, Swamiji, I have a very good family, I'm very happy with my family, I have a son and a daughter or something, I don't give all the details. But the point was, he says that I have told my son that, he has to earn, then the son was like 12 years old, not much older than that. I've told him, you have to, what is it called? And you throw the newspaper at people's homes. It's called newspaper boys. They dispense with in the old days, when nowadays it doesn't happen anymore. But he says, I am very proud. I've told my son that you have to start earning your blood. Swamiji said, I cringed at that. And how can you openly criticize somebody that is a stupid thing to do? But he was telling us, please tell me, do not get your kids to do any kind of a job until they're out of college. Keep them learning. Job comes later. Okay. So the first segment of life is as a brahmachari, as a learner. The second one is as a grihastha ashrama. In the grihastha ashrama, which is very, very interesting to see, the primary tool of the grihastha ashrama is what? Karma, of some action or the other. The problem is that if we do not understand the value of karma, then we become very selfish, we accumulate money, and we don't know what else to do, and so on. Whereas the same karma can be done in the spirit of karma yoga, which means that you keep the same karma, but your attitude is completely different. And all the acharyas say this. This is very interesting. They say that the likes and dislikes, the strong likes and strong dislikes, the raga dveshas, the best way um, to neutralize them is in this segment of the Grihastha Ashrama. By the end of the Grihastha Ashrama, when you are in your 50s and your children have now you are going to college and become independent, your Grihastha Ashrama is now ending. You're going to the next ashrama. But in the Grihastha Ashrama, at the end of that, your strong likes and dislikes have been dissipated. This is the goal. Every ashrama has a goal. And dissipated either with the help of spiritual knowledge or with the help of karma. So this is what is called Bahiranga Bahiranga Sadhana and Antaranga Sadhana. So the Bahiranga Sadhana is Karma Yoga. Okay? Antaranga Sadhana is what is now mentioned here. And this Swamiji mentions this on page 59, that Shraddha, Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga is an example. It's not the only thing, but it's an example of Antaranga Sadhana. So this Antaranga Sadhana, going back to completing the ashrama story, and I'll come back to it in a minute, I won't leave it. So the ashrama, roughly divided into 4, this is the Vedic knowledge from the old times. There's nothing new. Where are we in 2024 and Saylorsburg? I keep saying California, but Pennsylvania. We're sitting here discussing this. I guarantee you, in the year 2000 years ago, if there was a similar discussion, same thing will be happening. Some teacher will be saying, your life consists of 4 ashramas. These ashramas are part of the Vedas. So in these 4 ashramas, the 3rd ashrama is Vanaprastha ashrama. What is the goal of the Vanaprastha ashrama? The Vanaprastha ashrama is usually from 50 to 75. The goal of the Vanaprastha ashrama is to start to let go. Start to let go means what? Means you should have started even earlier, but not in the Grihastha ashrama. In the Grihastha ashrama, you need to have a feeling of mine, me, mine, my house, my wife, my husband, my family. It is appropriate. It is appropriate. Minus my-ness, not M-I-N-U-S, but my-ness is natural and appropriate. That needs to be dismantled in the Vanaprastha ashrama. In the Vanaprastha ashrama, you should start to let go. In fact, there's a big discussion about it. We don't have time for that, but I'll just mention one thing to keep in mind, which really, really made a very big difference to me. Swamiji had made this, Swami Dayanandji had made this comment, very beautiful. He says, look at the distinction between friends and spouses. Friends and spouses. Observe your behavior towards spouses and your behavior towards friends. Just think about it. When you interact with friends, how do you do it? You have politeness. You have lack of specific expectations. You must do this. You don't do that. You have tolerance. Because if you know there is a friend, yes, you have certain expectations. The most important expectation of a friend is that you should be in touch. You cannot have a friend that you have not seen for 50 years. That's no longer a friend. Friend means somebody that you keep in touch every month, every 6 months, whatever. But so there is some expectations with the friends, but generally it's a very soft. Spouses is completely different. You get up in the morning and you say, why did you leave these dishes out in the sink? Would you tell that to your friend? If the friends left your party and left the dishes, you would say, you didn't put the dishes in the sink. You left them on the table. You wouldn't do that. But with the spouses, you will do that. You know, I'm tired of doing this and you haven't really helped with this at all. So we have a cutting-edge approach to our spouses. And that cutting-edge approach to the spouses in the Grihastha ashram is appropriate. Because you need to do it. You don't have enough time, there's lots of things to be done, you're saying, get with it. Same thing with children also. Children also, same thing, same discussion, I was just talking about spouses. With children also. Particularly when the children are growing up, you have to make sure that they call you ahead of time and they keep in touch with you. And something just comes up in my mind. I remember in the old days, my mother and father were in India, and of course I was over here. And communication was a big problem because you didn't have any free phones. Letter writing was the main thing, and we are far away in USA on the other side of the world. So once in a while phone calls, there was no email, there's no FaceTime, none of that. And so we would try to keep in touch with mom and dad as much. So one year, I took a business trip with Hewlett-Packard, and Pami came with me. So we went to several countries. I had businesses in Italy, UK, Germany, and she came with me. And it was a longer trip. I would say maybe 2.5, 3 weeks. Usually we are not gone that much. So in those days, there was no telephone from those hotels. And so for 3 or 4 weeks, I did not call my mom. When we got back, oh my God, I got the most unpleasant phone call from my mom and said, "What has happened? Have you forgotten us?" It was just on and on. I realized, oh my God, what have I done? So at that time it is all appropriate in the Grihastha ashrama. In the Vanaprastha ashrama, Swamiji's advice was one. Very beautiful advice, very appropriate advice. He says your goal should be to behave with your children and your spouses the same way that you behave with your friends. That's it. Done. There's nothing magical about it. You do this every day. You are used to treating your friends. Just tolerate and observe your immediate family as friends. And the idea there is that this me and mine, and we'll talk about this as one of the very important things that really for understanding Atma Vidya, one of the impediments is this feeling of me and mine. This is my house, this is my wife, this is my car, my husband, and my children. More than that, this is my children. your expectations of the children. And so in the Vanaprastha ashrama, which my mom didn't do, she should have really done it, because she was never really introduced to Atma Vidya or to this kind of a teaching. That kind of a phone call would not be good. Just say, if they don't call, you don't call. That's it. You can, next time you see them and you say, hey, what happened? I haven't heard from you. That's it, quietly. But the sense of expectations that my children must be in touch with me every week should not be there. Hopefully they have come to a, and everybody's children is different. We have children that are very independent, they don't call very much, and we have another one who calls us 3 times a day. So they're all different, and whatever they are, let's just accept it. This is the way they are. So this is the Vanaprastha. Then finally, and the Vanaprastha means you are now prepared for turning your attention to yourself. And it should be done. And this is not the time to waste time, but to really study and to get prepared. Then in the final, fourth one, which is sannyasa ashrama, means even you should really be very independent. Everything else should fall off, and the study of the self should be the primary. So this is the structure of the family. So that's how that is. So that is the ashrama system, but the employment of the antaranga sadhana is the primary one during the Vanaprastha. It is an introduction during the... I would say this is just a quick way of looking at it. The Karma Yoga, which is the example of Bahiranga sadhana, the outside sadhana, is the primary focus during the Grihastha ashrama. Whereas the Antaranga sadhana is the primary focus during the third one, which is Vanaprastha ashrama. Anyway, sir, is some very beautiful description of that. Shraddha. Shraddha is probably the most important sadhana that one can have. Most important. I remember this so well. When we were graduating in, I don't know if there is some recordings of this, it'll be good to go, but there's no recording. When we were graduating from Berkeley, from Upaniṣad ashram, and Swamiji had given us a speech and goodbye, and handed us, I guess he probably even gave us some certificates of completion or something, I don't remember. And then in the satsang, the final satsang, he just had, did you guys have any questions? And like that. And I asked him a question. I said, Swamiji, what is the most important thing that I should do for achieving this? And my question had not even finished. He said, Shraddha. Shraddha is the most important thing. And what Shraddha means is that once you have been exposed to the truth about what this Atma Vidya is, then don't doubt it. All the acharyas say this. Swami Maheshananji goes so much into this, that I have seen people who have spoiled their lives because of doubts. Doubts meaning you feel, I think this is the right thing, but I don't know. And you cannot defend it. If somebody If somebody questions you about this, you say, well, you may be right. Maybe there are other methods of doing this. No. Keep your focus, even if you don't completely get it yet. That is okay. And this is I tell you, this is a very interesting thing. And I think this is mentioned here. Yeah, on page 60. So make a note of this. Is what I'm saying, that I'm going to give you these references that you can go back to later. I don't know how you're going to note it. It's up to you. But on page 60, Swami Viditatmananda has given a very beautiful definition of the difference between Shraddha and faith. Really speaking, what was really very pleasurable to me when I took this course with Swamiji in 2005 and then wrote this book with him, is that all of these ideas were given by Swami Dayanandji. I was also his Swami Dayanandji student, Swami Viditatmananda, and he has a better memory of all the things, but it is exactly all Swami Dayanandji's. We were both students of the same Guru. So Swami Dayanandji used to say, and this is what is expressed here on the page 60, that the difference between Shraddha and faith is what? This we should understand. We should be somebody else. Shraddha means verifiable belief. Faith means non-verifiable belief. This is the difference. Verifiable by verifiability and non-verifiability. So Einstein's E is equal to mc squared, that matter and energy are interchangeable and are always the same, it's not an understandable thing for a high schooler or even for a college graduate. Not understandable. But is it not true? No, it is true. And is it not true for me? No, it will be true for you also. It's verifiable. So is E is equal to mc squared a belief or a Shraddha? Shraddha. Why? Because it is verifiable. But the existence of heaven is a belief. Is a belief. Because we don't know. In fact, the only stories that we hear of is from Narada. Narada was a special rishi that was qualified to go to both earth as well as heaven. And this is all Puranic stories. I don't know how much truth there is. I'll tell you why there may not be any truth. Because there are descriptions of heaven in our scriptures. There are, no doubt about it. And there probably are. And they say that the way the heaven is, there is no physical bodies there. This is a very interesting thing to see. Okay? Important thing to see, really. Very important thing to see. So, in the waking state consists of some ingredients. An ingredient is to have a physical body. Right? So just think about this. Look at the distinction between the dream state and the waking state. In the waking state, we have a physical body. You know what that means? It means you need to have a father and mother. You need to have a beginning. Okay, this is what it means. Now, look at the dream state. Are there physical bodies there? Yes, there are. Are those physical bodies born from mother and father? Is there a parentage for those children in the dream? No. But they appear there all of a sudden. And you transact with them, you talk to them. You have experiences with them, good and bad. This is the truth about our dream. And yet, they don't have any beginning, no end. There is an appearance. Hopefully we will come back to this point a bit later on in more detail. This is a very important thing, and if we don't do that here, I intend to do that in the Mandukya. This is a very important thing to look at. Now going back to the description of the heaven, in heaven, the description in our Shastras is, it is like a dream. How? Because you don't have a physical body there. You don't have a physical body. There is an individuality, as it is in the dream also. But that individuality does not consist of something that you can touch someone. It is all in thoughts. So you have no physical body. So therefore, going back to the description of Narada, it is difficult to see how can he have because if he is in the Jagrata Avastha, Manushya Avastha, he has to have a physical body. But if he is in Vaikuntha, there is no physical body. So how is that going to happen? I don't know. So this, all it means is Vaikuntha or heaven or whatever is not verifiable. That is the difference between Shraddha and faith. So Shraddha here means, so this is why it is important is, kind of like telling someone, supposing somebody says, what are you studying? So you say, I'm studying Vedanta. What is Vedanta? Vedanta means that, I am a Sakshi, separate from the world. And so the person can say, do you know that? Can you feel it? No, I can't feel it yet, but this is what I've been told. You've been told? And it is contrary to your experiences? Are you going to go for something like this? This is all poppycock tales? No, that's not poppycock tales, because all the wise people, they all feel that this is what I need to see. Is it possible to see it? Yes. Is it verifiable? Yes. It's very much like a science student saying there is no E is equal to mc square. There is no commonality between mass and energy. And you say, yes, there is. No, I don't feel it. A mass is a mass. How can it become energy? Well, keep studying it, my dear. One day you will see it. When will I see it? In my next life? No, in this life itself. This is the fundamental of what is called Shraddha. Shraddha means a verifiable belief. And so, this is why Swami Dayanandji was very quick in answering my question and saying the most important thing you can do is to keep your focus until you are done. Don't get distracted, don't get disappointed. None of that really should happen to you. So that was one thing. Then, in the next 5 minutes, I want to just finish this. The next one is bhakti. And the beautifully explained by Swami Viditatmananda ji, again based on Swami Dayanand's teaching, that bhakti in the context of jnana yoga, in the context of jnana yoga, of jnanam, on Vedanta, of studying, means commitment. You know, because when you hear the word bhakti, you feel like, oh, bhakti means what? You know, doing puja to Dakshinamurti and thinking of God and this, that or the other. Yeah, all of that is okay. But bhakti in the context of jnana yoga means commitment to what is being told to you. So it's really an element of Shraddha. It's not an element but a accompaniment, that's the better word, accompaniment to Shraddha. Because Shraddha means continued focus. In real life what it means is, you know, this is what it is. This is what it means in the sadhana panchakam comes in. That is nityam. You need to study this every day, my dear. Don't say, oh my gosh, I forgot to study Vedanta for a week. Please don't do that. Do you ever forget to eat? I hope I can say it. You forget to take a bath, which you might. No. At least I don't. I think the only time I don't take a bath is if I'm in the hospital. And that's the worst part that I like about the hospital. When I had my bypass surgery for 3 or 4 days, I couldn't take a bath. That was terrible. So you don't forget to do those things. That means you should study, even if you study for half hour, 1 hour, must study. So this means bhakti. It means commitment. That's the general meaning of what is it. Then the last one is dhyana, meditation. And so this is a very important thing and stems from my earlier talk on the need for vichara. So here, dhyana here means vichara, because none of the other things that you do, including bhakti, including study, including pujas, anything is as important as your ability to think. Because it all culminates in your own ability to get out of this sense of bondage. You are under bondage, you alone can free yourself. You are the problem, you are the solution. Again, going back to the Bhagavad Gita's example, that if Arjuna was one of the best friends of Krishna, he could have easily just put his head there and say, "Bless you, my child, you are free." He's the Ishvara, he can do anything. But Arjuna has to do it himself. So the dhyana here refers to really. So, they say that, I'll end with this, because I'd like to introduce the speaker for you for the next few minutes. So I'll end with this. So they say that you need different kinds of kripa. You need Ishvara kripa. You need Shastra kripa. You need Guru kripa. All of this you need. You need to have the right teaching, you need to have the right teacher, you need to have health from the standpoint of Ishvara. In the end, you need Atma Kripa. Atma Kripa. What does Atma Kripa mean? Atma Kripa means your own ability to reach out to your own treasure and help yourself. This is Atma Kripa. Vichara. Vichara. So that culminates in what is called Dhyanam. So with that we complete the second. We're making good progress. Second one is done. After there's only 22 more left. We must have another retreat next year to complete it. No, I'm just kidding. No, we'll complete it somehow, even if we have to have 7 sessions a day. So with that, let me just take a quick prayer, and I'd like to introduce a speaker to you. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So it's my pleasure to introduce Sri Ram Subramanian. Mr. Subramanian is a professor at IIT Bombay, and he specializes in theoretical physics, and he's visiting here. He knows Swami Dayanandji, and he also is very well acquainted with Vedanta, and he's visiting here for a few days, and for the next 10 to 15 minutes I've asked him to address you on any topic that he likes, and so I'm very happy to introduce him to you. You can remove this and just
If you want, you can just come here if you like. Anything is okay.
Yeah, sure. Please come. It will be better because this.
No, you can just sit. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. It's a great pleasure to be here. After listening to Vijay Kapoor ji, it just occurred to me that I'll just take on this topic of this Vedanta Vichara. Is it meaningful at all? Vedanta Vichara is to primarily discover oneself. So it is also called Atma Vichara. And Atma, which is referred to by the word I, locus of I, as they call aham pratyaya vishayaha. This is the term that they use. Aham is I, pratyaya is a certain cognition and the locus of that cognition. All of us have this cognition of I, and what is this locus of cognition? What is its nature? This is the content of Vedanta, and we are taken through a certain process. Now different acharyas present it differently, and Bhagavad Pada himself has written hundreds of works to just enlighten us about this. And he was even just mentioning in the Sopana Panchaka, Vicharyatam, Sadvidvan Upasrupyatam, Sadvidvan Upasrupyatam, Pratidinam Tatpaduka Sevyatam, Brahmaikaksharam Arthyatam, Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. This is what is said. Shrutishiro Vakyam is Vedanta Vakyam Samakarnyatam. So may you listen very carefully and from a trained teacher in the tradition. Shrutishiro Vakyam Samyak Akarnyatam. So may you listen. Now there are acharyas who actually try to post this question as a Purva Paksha. They say this all seems to be meaningless. To know I, there is no need for me to have any scripture. I know myself. So what is the need for any scripture to reveal to me about myself? Suppose I say, there is something called black hole, there is something called black energy. He was just saying E is equal to mc square. So if someone says that there is something called black energy or black hole, then there is something which seems to be completely new to me. Is it a possibility? I will have some. There is a doubt whether such a thing could exist or not. If one can probe and then understand, then. So in order to get a certain clarity on something, to get rid of the doubts, I can do this vichara. It makes sense. And if I do vichara, so there is a possibility that I understand the truth, and there is a prayojana. So here in the case of Vedanta Vichara, I know myself and there is no need for me to. So anybody else can make a judgment about ourselves, which may not be necessarily true as to what I am, and that is what results in various kinds of conflicts. You have not understood me, I have not understood you. And I know myself, so there is no need for me to have a Shastra to reveal me. So neither I have doubt regarding my existence, nor I have doubt regarding the nature of myself. So it doesn't seem to be making sense. And even if I were to do inquiry, I have been studying for 30 years, 40 years. I have been listening to Swamiji for 30 years. I don't see any change in myself. There is no prayojana also. So this, to make an inquiry, so we need to have a certain purpose. That purpose also seems to be not served. And there is nothing for me to know. This is the kind of thing. No. You don't understand I. You generally, by saying, say I am fat, suppose I say, I am slim. So where is this I mapped to? So this is mapped to body, right? As we say, this is pot, this is some entity, and pot. So there is an entity which is there in front of me, and pot is equated with this. This and pot are not different. This and pot are not different. Similarly, when you make this usage, I am fat, I and the locus of the fat is something which is an insentient thing. You have equated and therefore you have understood I to be the body, and there is need for vichara. Suppose you were to say, I am dull, suppose you say. So this I is a very interesting term where we try to associate it to sometimes motor organs, sometimes sense organs, sometimes mind, sometimes body, all this we do. So there is a clear identification, you have not understood the nature of I, and therefore there is need for vichara. Suppose you were to say, then I can say, no. I have understood I clearly to be distinct from body. How did you understand? I understand because, so there is this nice statement in Bhamati. He says, yoham balye pitarau anbabhavam saeva sthavire pranaptrin anubhavami. Now, Ajay Kapoorji has reached a certain stage in life where he can have his grandson or great grandson on his lap. Right? So, at one point, he would have sat on the lap of his grandfather. Then he would have been 10 kgs, 12 kgs. Now he is in a different state. Right? So, now you see that there is a continuous change that is happening, and the body is not even identifiable with the body that we had earlier. And that I notion is something which is there. I enjoyed my grandfather's lap. Now I am enjoying my grandson in my lap. So the I is continuous. Is the I different? The I is same, but the body is completely different. Therefore, I have understood the difference between I and the body. So though I may make use of the statement that I am fat, etc., I have a clear distinction between body and I. So similarly, one can show that I am understanding the I to be different from my sense organs, I to be different from the mind. So there is a clear understanding of what I means as distinct from the mind-body sense complex. Then what is the purpose of vichara? I know, but I also know that I am sukhi, dukhi, etc. So there is a nice simile that he gives. So you see the sutra running through the various flowers. So yeshu vyavartamaneshu yad anuvartate tattebhyo bhinnam. When something runs continuously and the other things are tied to this, so this is different from that. Similarly, baladi sharireshu vyavartamaneshu. And the body is continuously changing from 4.8 kgs to 48.4 to 108.4. So this vyavartamaneshu anuvartamanam, the locus of I is different, which runs through. And therefore, I know different. You can say. But then, one can argue at various levels. After all, he was just mentioning about the swapna. The body may be different, but I have the feeling that this is my body. That did not go right. At all stages. So at one point it was flowing, at one point it has only wrinkles. But that continues, suppose you were to say, then one can say, is swapna. So he was even mentioning just as I entered the room, you had various notions there. So in the swapna, so you eat and then you go, you feel hungry. So thereby you know at least that body is different from this body. Deva Sharira you can have various kinds of notions. If you were to say, there one can say that Sharira is a Mithya Sharira. So this is the real Sharira. So you cannot say that I actually sort of goes through that Sharira. So that you may be a millionaire, but you may think as if you are a bhikshuka. So these kinds of things, swapna sharira, there is no clear distinction because that is a mithya sharira and associated with I. So this mithya sharira mapping with I, that distinction does not help. I need a clear distinction with the physical sharira. So then one can also say that there are examples where people have the ability to move from sharira to another sharira, in the yoga avastha. So there is a possibility. So through that one can say that I have a clear distinction between I and this sharira, and so too with other indriyas, mind. If one were to say all this, then still I have aham parichinnaha, aham dukhi, aham sukhi. So all these feelings are there. I know that I am different from mind, body, sense complex. I know about myself. But still I am having all these kinds of problems. So what is the point in doing vichara? Prayojana bhavat ajijñāsya. There should be some prayojana. Prayojanam anuddishya namandopi pravartate. So if one were to make a case like this, see, I know myself, I don't see any point in doing this vichara. Then comes the Shastra. See, this I am fat, suppose you take steak. So I am fat. I am fat, is it a fact or is it a fallacy? So Vedanta tells it is a fallacy. But in reality, suppose I were to say, I am fat is a fallacy, who will believe? So at least the one, if you sit in a flight, you can occupy one seat. Some people sit. So they will try to take some part of the other seat. That fellow, suppose he were to say, I am fat, is a fallacy. But Vedanta tells it is a fallacy. But to me, I am fat is a fact. I have to work out to get rid of this fatness. So if you say that I am different from Sharira, I know, then you need not work out. You need not have any complex. So you may logically think that I have understood myself to be different from the body, but it is not so. In reality, so there is an identification. So it is to get rid of this identification and get rid of the various complexes that I can arise out of this identification. So Vedanta tells you a certain method. And in fact, if you were to say that I am fact, those people who try to argue that I know myself to be different from the body, they have to say that this anubhava is like a figurative use. But this anubhava is there. Nobody can deny anubhava. In fact, he says, anubhava is something which cannot be negated or neglected or ignored. If anything is against my anubhava, then that has to be given up. In fact, there is a beautiful statement that he makes in Bhamati. He says, Na hyagama sahasramapi ghatam patayitum ishate. It is like this. Agamaha means scripture. Suppose somebody were to say, this is a plastic cup, this is a plastic cup. You repeat 1,000 times. Who is going to accept this? Similarly, if you say, Aham Ananda Rupaha, Aham Ananda Rupaha, Aham Nityaha, Aham Nityaha, Aham Nityaha. You may say 1,000 times, the scripture may say 1,000 times. But I am not Nitya. I am always limited. I am not Aparichinna. I am not Sukhi. I am not Sukha Rupa, in fact, Sukha Swarupa. So therefore he makes the statement, even thousands of agamas, he cannot change a pot into a mat. Okay? Agamas sahasramapi ghatam patayitum naishati. So this is the kind of Purva Paksha that actually they put forth. Okay? So in order to, so this is what is called Sthuna Nikhanana Nyaya. Okay? So by which you try to shake. So with some faith you have come and sat here. Now I were to say this is all meaningless. But we seek a certain solution. So the Shastra themselves, they pose these kinds of very interesting Purvapakshas. And I am sure, so since I have been given only 15 minutes, so I think I'll just wind up. I can keep talking, but thank you. Namaste.